Greetings, family. Once again, I am back. Now, this slide here is a introduction to a video that I previously recorded. And so now I want to go ahead on and just kind of introduce. We're continuing on to talk about stepping out of time meditation. Stepping out of time meditation. And I wanted to just go through this because the Ephesians 6, what I'm really wanting to do is get you ready for the meditation coming up video, because it's going to be a meditation video that I'm going to put out. And so, but Ephesians 6, it tells us to put on the helmet of salvation, which is symbolic of freeing your mind, which is in regards to the crown chakra, freeing your mind, self-realization, and spirituality. And the third eye, which is the pineal gland, which we've talked about many times, is your sixth chakra. The crown is the seventh chakra, and the third eye, or the pineal gland, is the sixth chakra, which is represented by the the third eye. It's called the third eye, but it's where you have the production of melatonin, which plays a role in the body's internal clock or circadian rhythm. Then you have the throat chakra, which is symbolic of the word, communication. Okay, the word that we have been given, so that we can communicate with, right? And the breastplate of righteousness is your heart chakra, which is love and compassion. And then you need to have the shield of faith, which refers also to the solar plexus. This is your seat of power, this is the area of self-esteem, or what we call the ego power. Okay. When we talked about, all of that in regards to your ego and all that before on previous video, please go back and watch those videos. And also truth. You need to be girded about with truth, which is symbolic here of the sacral chakra, which also relates to sexuality, creativity, emotions, and pleasure, and so forth. And then we're getting all the way down here to the root chakra, which according to Ephesians 6 is walking in peace. Walking in peace. This is where when you're grounded, you're surviving, and you have confidence, safety. Basically where you're safe. Okay, you have your basic needs and all of that. And so, having said that and gone over that, the stepping out of time meditation. So I want to get you ready, because we really need to meditate, or some may say we need to have prayer. This is the hour of prayer. So do not deny the power thereof. And so as this video was sitting there percolating and everything, the Spirit, it came to me, the Spirit, this scripture in 2 Timothy. And the part I want to focus on is the part that says, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. From such turn away. And also, verse 7, it says, ever learning and never able to come to the knowledge of the truth. We get up to a point in our life that we get to a point where it's the stages of growth and development that we have to go through. And when a child is young, they can't take solid food, because they by the time they get started to take on more solid foods and everything, they start growing, getting taller and taller. Well, that's how it is with our spiritual growth. You see, in our spiritual growth, you have to continue to grow. in this area. Because I really believe that meditating is where we need to start to begin to heal ourselves. Because there's so many things even hang on meditation or hang on communication. And that's one part of, that's one of our chakras that we need to really develop and really hone into. And so basically this is what this video is all about. I want to kind of give an introduction there because the shift is upon us. And having said that, please enjoy the video. Welcome everyone. This is V. I'm back with another video, elevating her consciousness, because consciousness is divine power. So I hope you are doing well and all is well with my divine family. Now I want to get into some energy here in regards to meditation. Previously I made a video entitled Stepping Out of Time. Meditation basically, and I want to continue to hold the line right here and bring in some more clarity to the point that I was trying to make in regards to, you know, the Merkaba meditation, spirituality, and all of that. So the question I have here is, are you having prayer or are you praying? And I want to shed light on some things, like, for example, when you think about praying, P-R-E-Y-I-N-G, it sounds like P-R-A-Y, but in the end of the day, my point is that there are those who survive by preying on small game. Okay, and when you're out of balance, say for example, this is basically, when you think about praying, that's animal nature, right? That's just animal nature and behavior. In order to survive, they prey on small game. But when there's an imbalance, do you think, put a comment below. Just check me, go ahead. And put a comment below if you think that human beings can get out of balance to the point where they exhibit animalistic behavior and, you know, behavior that is really that indicative of, you know, just preying on those who are weak, preying on the weak, preying on the ignorance of others. Okay, like I said in a previous video, there's a lot of money to be made for what you don't know. Okay, meditation is an act of remaining in a silent and calm state for a period of time as part of a religious training, or so that you are more able to deal with the problems of everyday life. This is the type of meditation that I am talking about. Meditation, the Merkaba meditation, the stepping out of time meditation. Because this meditation, I think, is superior to the average praying. You know what I mean? It's superior to, you know, some types of prayer, okay? Because there are different types. It's superior. Why? Because it's not a whole lot of talking when it comes down to this meditation. It's basically a process of quieting your mind, getting a calm state for a period of time, as it says here. And there are other types, right? So this meditation, I think, is very powerful, like I said, and it's very necessary for us to explore meditation more fully. So because of the fact that when we look in our world, we see that mental instability is on the rise. You see, you got burnout, you got PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, or post-traumatic stress syndrome, or depression. That's just to name a few. You know, that's just a few disorders, or, you know, mental instability types of this. There's a long list of, what we call psychotic um, disorders. In the previous video, I talked about the pineal gland, which is the third eye, which is your mind's eye, which is the energy center, is also responsible for your circadian rhythm, which is your internal clock. Okay, and this energy center is the key. You ever heard somebody say that prayer is the key? You see, they knew what was going on. See, the key role it plays in your spirituality, the energy center, just this third, this sixth chakra, because see, above that is the seventh chakra, which is the crown chakra, which is what connects you to higher dimensions, correct? So this whole mechanism, this whole pine cone shaped organ in the brain plays a key role in your spirituality, as well as, all sorts of healing modalities that it can address. And this is why I want to bring it to your attention, because you really should consider making meditation a part of your lifestyle, as I have. Okay. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm making a case. I'm making my case because I really think that it's really, really been helping me to deal with a lot of, stress and many, many things. I talked about some of that on the other video, but I'm not going to get deep into that. But know that there are different types of meditation: active meditating and being in a deep thought. Okay. Number 2, solemn reflection on sacred matters as a devotional act. 3 is oral or written material as a sermon based on meditation. Okay, anything that material that you are meditating on, and then you're reading or what have you, and you're focusing on it, you're practicing, you're tuning in on it, you're focusing in on it over and over. And also it could be a type of artistic type of meditation where you're creating paintings, and you get your creative ability comes out in different ways when you meditate, right? So then I found 2 scriptures. Now I put a comment below if you know of any other scriptures that talk about meditate, tells you to meditate. In Joshua 1:8 it says, "This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night." Psalms 1:2 it says, "But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law do he meditate day and night." Okay, when you're learning something and when you're being trained to do something, guess what? You will have to meditate. A lot of times, burn the midnight oil, whatever you have to do to, learn that subject. But this marker bar meditation is making a connection with you, between you and the cosmos, between you and your higher dimensions, between you and your divine self, right? In making that connection. And when you so if you look at the picture here that is on the right side, you see that person and you see that like the circle. Because when I'm looking at this image, I'm seeing, the Merkaba being displayed in like a different kind of way, in a different kind, being expressed in a different manner, which is on point, because when the circle is more like, the field, the magnetic field that is around you. It's like your, that aura, or the oges that are around you, the magnetic field, basically. And then when you look at those 4 elements: air, fire, earth, and the water. All of these elements exist in your body or in some form. When you think about it, when I'm seeing the fire, I'm thinking about the divine spark. When I see the air, I'm thinking about the air you breathe. You know, you need oxygen, right? The air that you breathe. And the earth, you know, it's just a circle of life, you know what I'm saying? And also, when you think about the water, that your body is like made up of like about what, 70% of water, okay? And so all of these elements that we see displayed in the background, there's a connection between you and these elements. And so, and you know, so, and this can get really to a point where, you know, on a higher elevated type of consciousness, when you think about when you were born, the date, the time, and all of that can be plotted even on, you know, making, a natal chart. When you look at your natal chart, you will begin to learn about, you know, what type of elements that you operate in. And so those things begin to become relevant. Okay, but we're not going to get into that because that is a lot of more, you know, knowing thyself there. But I wanted to expose to make this case for why I think that meditation is very powerful and that is very much a healing type of modality and a practice that you can use to help bring you in alignment with your higher self and tap into your spirituality and grow in this manner. You can grow, elevate your consciousness, because that's what this channel is about, all about, elevating your consciousness. Okay, so let's talk about homeostasis. Homeostasis. Now, homeostasis, that term is just another term that to say balance. It's another term for balance. But homeostasis, I brought this term up, I got it out of the botanical because the word homeostasis, it really tells you deeply, it gets real deep into really what homeostasis and balance and all of that entails. Because when you think about it, says any self-regulating process by which biological systems tend to maintain stability while adjusting to conditions that are optimal for survival. The key word that sticks out to me here is self-regulating. What are we saying? Know thyself. When you think about healing, it's going to have to start from the head to from all the way on the top of the head to the toe. Okay, it's going to have to start at the head when you think about healing. And it's very profitable for you to know how to get in line with yourself, right? To know thyself. Because guess what? Your body was created with an internal clock. It was created with its self-regulating mechanisms all packaged up inside of you that knows. But guess what? It's just like your brain, right? Your brain is like the computer that is responsible. You know, the software. I would say your armor, like your armor would be perhaps maybe your skull, and then for this case, just for this video, I haven't dissected this right now, but this is just coming to me in the spirit right now. But that, you know, the software is like the internal organ in your pineal gland, right? And that's used to connect to higher realms, higher dimensions. We talked about that in the previous video, stepping out of time, meditation. When you connect with the higher dimensions, that's like you could get downloads into that software that's inside of that software, which is being protected by the hardware that's around there. And there's also lots that that can be done to build up even the aura or your ojas that are around you and so forth, to build up that armor, which is invisible. And we're going to talk about this more in detail when you talk about the spheres around you, or the auras, or that it's even an armor. It's a field of protection, and it's like a magnetic field that is all around you, right? So homeostasis balance, the ability to move or to remain in a position without losing control or falling. Okay, when you think about when if you're standing up, there's this all of that inside. If that pineal gland gets injured somehow, or even if you got injured in your cervical column, where we talked about the C1, the C2, any injuries taking place, there you have the cerebellum, which is also housed inside of that skeletal, inside your skull, and everything. Injury happened there. Guess what? You can lose your sense of balance. And just could not even stand up. Somebody stood you up and you just fall over because that part of it's been injured. I mean, be thankful if yours is intact. But that's not the only way that can be injured. If you have some type of mechanical injury with physical injury, but then there are chemical injuries that can happen there that can calcify that organ, that cone-shaped organ, the pineal gland, which can cause you, to just can result in the same type of symptoms like losing control or falling. Even in the spiritual aspect, guess what? If your pineal gland becomes opaque, or it becomes calcified or what have you, then you can be you will lose. You would get in a particular situation where you just kind of get off. The internal clock is off. You don't know what time it is. Your sleep is off and everything like that, because that controls all of those mechanisms, like your internal clock. We talked about that before. But looking at it in a spiritual way, and if you're looking at it spiritual, it goes even further. It's more elevation, elevated knowledge there that you can learn from that. But you think about to make even or level. That's what balance means, to make even or level. And so even temperature changes could upset the delicate balance of life in the forest. Not just even on your body, and the forest, and like the earth, all of it there's a connection there, okay? And your body has a ecosystem as well inside your internal clock, and all of that inside of you is just like the earth has a balance that it functions in, that's a perfect balance. And when that balance is upset, guess what? It could cause other things to get imbalanced or ricochet, or cause a domino effect, to begin to then harm the life that is even in the earth, correct? And so I wanted to, when you look at the yin and the yang, I want to address that as well, because when you have the yin and the yang, you have like you have a positive and a negative. Because in the natural world, and this is true in our natural world, positive and negative attract. Like female and male attract. It's a sort of harmony that is created when the two come together and attract and make a whole. Like you see the circle. Okay, that's why the yin and the yang, you see it, but it's still a circle, but you can see you can see that polarity there. You see the difference that's going on there. That they're not the same, but they're opposites, which attract, right? And so there's something magical, or you could say miraculous about, but it's really not miraculous, because it's just doing what it do. Okay, it's the natural course of things. So I would rather just say, oh, go ahead and use the word magical, because that's when the magic take place. Because when the two opposites can come together and attract and create a whole, or a wholeness, and be in harmony, even though they're not the same, right? So harmony, which is the quality of forming a pleasing and consistent whole, agreement or concord. Okay, someone asked a question, can man and machine be in perfect harmony? You answer that. Put a comment below. What do you think? Okay, but you see, if things were not out of balance, then you know what? We wouldn't even need the equalizer. We wouldn't need an equalizer. We wouldn't need a fix, right? If our economy wasn't so at a point of breaking, or a point where then there's a change that needs to be implemented, guess what? It would not need to be changed, right? Or it would need to be, everything would be just fine. Nobody would talk about it. Nobody would say anything. But there's something going on that we just can't sit and ignore. That we need some type of equalizer. You know what the equalizer is. Okay? So, yeah. So now, just want to bring clarity to the point I'm making, the case that I'm making in regards to the Merkaba meditation. Okay? Okay, so as the earth sits on its axis, your head also sits on its axis. And I'll show you, there's a picture in the next slide. You can be able to see how, you know, that the actual bone structure there, the C1, the C2 and all that, and the atlas. Okay, there's, you know, that, you know, but see, let's go ahead here and get into this energy here. Do human beings have a magnetic sense? That's a question. Biologists know other animals do. They think it helps creatures, including bees. Okay, we talked about how the beehive and all that, made an analogy on that. We did a video. Go back and watch, you know, the video regarding, I think the title of it is M's Logic, which is Mother Nature's logic. Okay, the turtle and the birds. These animals, they navigate through the world. So do you think that man has any knowledge about the ancient people had knowledge about navigating through the world? How do we don't have no information or knowledge about how we need to navigate through this world, and our relationship to the world or to the earth? Okay? There's new evidence for a human magnetic sense that lets your brain detect the Earth's magnetic field. Your brain can detect the Earth's magnetic field. Okay, even you, once you get centered, if you decide that you're going to take a stand and get centered, step into your power, get into the Merkaba meditation, step out of time, step into your power so that you can begin to connect with the earth, the Merkaba meditation, magnetism, because there's the magnetic field. You see the magnetic field that is around the earth that's showing you, you know, it's invisible, but it's there. If the animals can do it, you think that you can't do it? Most animals, okay, even you, so you have your crown chakra that is above like above the head. That connects you to the cosmos. The third eye, your mind's eye, which is the pineal gland, which is your third chakra, right? It connects all the way down, and you go down all the way down. You have your throat chakra, you have your heart chakra, you have your solar um, solar plexus, and you have your, you know, you go all the way down, because I don't have it before, but in the end of the day, there's this magnetism. There's just this field of magnetism. And that's what the Merkaba also represents as well. When you're looking at north, south, east, and west when you look at these poles, the North Pole, South Pole, and all of that, you know, it's just, we talked about that in the other video about, you know, your sense of direction and all of that, the balance and all that. And that pineal gland, that pine cone shaped organ that's responsible for regulating a lot of these mechanisms and all these functions and everything, that it's a regulator is what it is. And it has a lot of connection with the magnetism that goes on, or it can tap. It's allowing you to balance and do a lot of things, and it applies. I personally think it applies spiritually as well as physically. So, because what it does for you physically, it can do for you spiritually. Okay, because the spiritual, I think a lot of times they said the physical came, but then consciousness had to be in play. So getting grounded with the earth. There's something called the earth star chakra. You see also that Ephesians 3 talks about, it says that Christ may dwell in your hearts by faith, that ye being rooted and grounded in love. And there's a scripture talking about being rooted and grounded in the word as well. It says it says that you may be able to comprehend with all the saints, or all those who are like-minded, what is the breadth, the length, and the depth and height. You see, you want to know what the breadth is, the length, the depth, and the height. This is spirituality. Okay, this is about, you know, if you think the earth, when you navigating out on the earth, if you're in an airplane or whatever you're in, you're going to need the compass, right? It's your internal compass, your internal clock. So you're going to know where it's north, south, east, and west is. That's 4 directions. That same thing applies to your Merkaba, to your magnetic being, because you are a magnetic being, and you are made to be magnificent. Okay, because of all this information and knowledge and science that is connected with you. This is all knowing, because the Most High is all knowing. We don't just know how to know a few things. We got to know what is the whole. Okay, knowing in part may make a fine tale, but wisdom comes from seeing the whole. And to know the love of Christ, which passes knowledge. It passes knowledge. It passes your thoughts. Okay, because there are some thoughts that's higher than your thoughts. There's some ways that's higher than your ways. That he might be filled with the fullness of God. Are you filled with the fullness of God? Okay, so, but we're going to be learning about getting in balance right now, more and more and more, as we get further into this video. Step out of time. Say time's up to the world clock, and get into tune with your internal clock, so that you can be regulated properly, and you'll be able to stand against all the wows, because then the only thing that you can control really is yourself. We cannot, there are many things that are going on right now that we have no control of. But what we can do, this is what we need to be doing, is healing ourselves, getting in alignment with what is, you know, what is going to be on time when it comes to your spiritual walk and your mental stability. Okay, so this slide is showing you what we already touched on, what this is about, the cervical. This is your cervical column, and when you look at the skull, the atlas is what the skull sits on, and then the atlas sits on the axis. And see that axis, like we talked about how the earth is, right? And so you're very intricate being, and that you're being fearfully and wonderfully made. You need to know that. So the C1 is the cervical 1, and the C2 is cervical 2. So you have the atlas and the axis. You know, just like, you know, an atlas is the map, right? There's a book called the Atlas, and on there is the whole globe of the universe. It's on there and shows you all the whole maps and different lands and geography and everything is on there. Just think about how much, you know, your brain, okay, you know, it's the center, the energy center. In there lies the energy center. In there lies the holies of holies. In there lies, you could even make a comparison that your brain is like a computer, pretty much, where you get downloads. You got the software, you got the hardware. This is like the hardware we're looking at, a lot of it, because it protects, you know, because it houses all the software, that all the information and all that, the intricate workings of of your being. Okay, this is how, you know, you're inside there is where you live and have your being. Okay. Okay, so this is a picture that represents the Earth. As the Earth spins on its axis, you hear, what I'm seeing here is that the magnetic field that perhaps you may not be able to see, but it's there. And this is what these lines, or these white lines, and all of this, you know, represents, is the magnetic field around the Earth. And guess what? The Earth is magnificent. And if the Earth is magnificent and you are a microscopic representation of the Earth, that means that you are magnificent as well, wherever you are. The alligator analogy. This is analogy. This is analogy is going to be a comparison to what I think is going, you know, perhaps it's a good example of a scenario of what has been going on, even in our world, in our earth, and everything, in a lot of ways. And I want to make this analogy to bring clarity, you know, to the importance of homeostasis, the importance of balance, you know, and not just in the earth, but within ourselves, which is, you know, getting back to what our main topic is, which is meditation. You see, and so the alligator analogy, this is really based on a true story, actually. And what actually happened was that the ecosystem, which a lot of times when you have an ecosystem, say for example, a pond, we're looking at, just say we're looking at a pond here, and I have, you know, all these different species around. They're different. They're not the same. I mean, they really don't go together, really, basically, but they are existing in this ecosystem. Okay, even the alligator, you know, exists here, and along with all the other different types of species. Now on the left, you see I have the cell. That's a cell right there, which represents, or is symbolic, and also it's a real representation of really how life begins, how life starts out. It starts out with a circle and a dot in the middle, and then it has all the consciousness inside of it to replicate. It begins to multiply into 2 cells, 3 cells, 5 cells, 7 cells, and, you know, just like any other conscious um, entity in the earth, begins to multiply and grow, and it has all the consciousness already intact. Okay, it's self-regulating, and when you have an ecosystem is generally self-regulating by what species that are in there. And in this case, we have a pond, and in this pond we have alligators existing amongst other fish, different types of fish. And so what actually had ended up happening was that the environmental authorities had to get involved and investigate because the alligators were dying off. Okay, and nobody knew what was going on. Well, it turned out that there was some insecticide or pesticide that was sprayed upon the lawn or the surrounding area and around the pond, that when it rained, the insecticide seeped into the pond. And what then it then caused a domino effect. This one small type of fish that the alligator, usually feast upon, this fish was taken out by the pesticide. Okay, you can just imagine how, what a deep study it took just to figure out why in the world, just to think that the environmental authorities, cared so much about what was going on in this pond and why, and the people, maybe, and also maybe the people who owned the pond or the people around it, they really want to find out why the alligators are dying off, right? Perhaps, maybe. But then this was happening in a pond or in a water. But the point is that this ecosystem was upset. This ecosystem was taken off balance by, first, the small fish, which the alligator was one of his best. That was his snack. That was his favorite meal. That is what the alligator ate the most. That small fish right there in front of us that you see on the slide. And then so once that small fish start dying off, all those start dying off because the pesticide was poisoning in the pesticide that poisoned this fish, and they killed all of them. So then the alligator had no other choice but to feast or to feed upon another different type of fish, which in turn was high in a certain particular B vitamin that it accumulated in the alligator's body. You see how deep this can go? Where you had to really do a lot of tests, get down to the root cause of why the alligators were dying off, because it was just not evident when you look at it. You had to do a really you had to get down in a microscopic level, taking blood samples from the alligators, investigating, taking samples of the water and all. You can just imagine how in depth that, that figuring out what was the root cause. So basically, I'm just going to say, for this case, they did a whole root cause analysis to figure out what was really going on inside of this perfect ecosystem that included even alligators that you would think that all these species couldn't live together, but they were actually living in harmony. Pretty much the ecosystem, the water was clean, the water was being, everything was good, because guess what? There was life there. And where there's life, that's important. If something is beginning to die off and beginning to die, this is something that we need to be asking some questions about. If there's a lot of deaths in something that's usually in harmony and that's usually, functioning without any, it basically was self-regulating. They didn't really need to do much, for this to be in harmony. It was self-regulating. You know what I'm saying? And so this analogy is what I'm saying. Like I said, when you look at the circle, that is a complete circle with a dot in the middle, and even every cell in your body is self-regulating. It has the power and ability to replicate. It has the power and ability to renew and all of that, just by even just, as long as your brain is intact, as long as you're functioning, but functioning, well, from your head to your toe, your body can rejuvenate, it can regenerate. Okay, but this was not what was happening in the pond here. The alligator had symptoms of like Alzheimer's or something. They basically was sitting there looking crazy and staring, and they didn't, feed well. They just could not, they could not survive any longer because they were being, their brain was being affected by, the system, because the system was upset. The whole entire system was upset. And so you take a situation where there was complete and total harmony, complete and total balance, and everything going on all the way down to the point where you have one species was been dying off, and then now you have the alligator. When you think about the alligator, he was the big kahuna in the pond. He was the one. He was the king of all, in the pond, and everything was, in harmony right there. But when we saw the death, that needed some root cause analysis needed to take place in order to figure out what was going on. And so that's how important it is. You see, when you have one thing that gets upset, the balance in there, that could cause a domino effect and to the rest of the population that's in there. But yeah, I wanted to bring that because we continue to maintain the same energy of knowing thyself, getting to know thyself. And one part of that is definitely knowing about what's going on in your environment. It is important for us to know what's going on in our environment, because our environment, our earth, our Mother Earth is what we have to get grounded, connected with. The Earth chakra. It's important for us to know thyself. And like I said, meditation is not about knowing everything, but it's about knowing thyself. And knowing about the earth is about knowing thyself as well, because guess what? You are part of the earth. And if it's out of balance, guess what? It can spill over into your life as well. So, clearing any cell energy, right? This I wanted to introduce, basically what I'm going to do here on this slide is to introduce you to sort of like a 101 in meditation. Anytime you're going to begin a meditation, you most likely are going to be asked to take some deep breaths in and out. And taking deep breaths in and out is very, very helpful. It's very healing, because a lot of times we don't realize how we sit sometimes, and we're not really getting enough oxygen circulating in our body. Because if you get stagnant sometimes, guess what? You're going to be, it's going to kind of upset your balance in your body. So taking deep breaths, even 5 to 10 deep breaths, for a minute or two or so forth, is going to be very helpful and beneficial to bringing you in alignment with healing, or starting the healing. And I think that the reason I'm doing this as well is because I know that healing has to start with self-care. It's going to have to start with each individual taking responsibility for their own self. Okay? That's where it's going to have to start. Yes, of course, we have wonderful physicians, wonderful practitioners, and people that are out there who also even, they even practice the same meditation, but and they incorporate that as a part of their lifestyle. And so, but you have to know that you have to first take care of yourself. You have to first start, it starts with self. It starts with knowing thyself, as we said before, putting plain and simple. Okay. And I just want to do a little exercise here to introduce you to, and hopefully you would get on board with the step out of time meditation coming up. I'm going to put out a video in regards to that. But I want to just kind of, this is for the people who don't know anything about meditation. They have not even considered meditation. They think, just to give them some type of exercise to, a practice, so that when you do see the video, when it comes out, you will be able to know what you need to do, because the video is not going to be talking about deep breaths or anything. It's just going to start with some music, some vibrations and sound that will basically prompt you to come into alignment with all your chakras, with your higher self and all of that. And this is how you're going to start doing it. First, you're going to it's going to be music, but this is not going to be it. But I just wanted to exercise some breathing here, so that you'll know that this is the first thing you need to start doing, and getting centered with your mind's eye, because you know all about the mind's eye now. You know what that is. You know that is your pineal gland. And so you want to get centered with that, and you want to focus on a single point of light. Just to put it like that, because there are many ways and forms that things you can do to focus, so that you can be centered, get centered, because that means you're clearing out all negative energy from your field, from your magnetic field that is around you. And this little gadget I have, it really helps you to bring you into the focus, because with that sound, the sound and vibration that comes from this instrument, what it does, it helps you get centered, because then you can't really think about anything else. When you hear that sound, it just brings you into alignment, basically, and it helps with this, getting the centeredness going on, starting it up. But then you're going to have to start doing your deep breathing. So we're going to play this, and we're going to play this for a little bit. It's only about a minute. And then we're going to practice the breathing. Okay, deep breathing exercises. And then I'll be back from there. Okay, so once you've finished, and you've completed all your deep breathing, the tape is just going to play for 20 minutes. It's going to be the step at a time meditation. I'm just kind of getting you ready, just kind of, getting you geared up for doing the step at a time, what I'm calling the step at a time meditation. And the reason why I call it that, because I have aligned it with Ephesians 6. Okay. But however, the tape is going to play, and it's just going to go along with the music. Now you can silently say some positive affirmations. And generally what I do is, when I'm doing a short meditation, maybe a 5-minute or what have you, and I just bring myself into alignment, and I start reciting, a short affirmation like, I am healed, I am whole, I am wealthy, and I am free. And so I'll do that, several times along with my deep breathing exercises, and just kind of get focused on this and get centered on the light of my mind's eye and all that. And then, and that is going to be for the step at a time meditation, which is only 20 minutes. But generally what I usually do when I do other types of meditation, and what I do with the step at a time meditation, which I've aligned to Ephesians 6 there, I just start from the top of my head, and I'll focus in on my mind's eye, because then you have above that is the crown chakra, which the crown chakra connects you with the higher dimensions, right? But then you have there your mind's eye. You have your internal clock, which is your third, which is your third eye. That chakra is the sixth chakra, is what it is, and it basically is what we've been talking about the whole time. And so that connects to your crown, and that connects you to the higher dimensions. And then you go down further, you have your throat chakra, which is involves, communication. In this case, when you're meditating, we're not, like I said, this meditation does not involve a lot of talking or doing anything. Basically, what you're doing, the communication is listening. Listening is a very effective form of communication, especially when you're thinking about connecting with your higher self. You need to listen so that you can know what it is that you need to be in alignment with, or be in line with your higher self. You're getting information, downloads, and information about what you need to do. It's not about knowing everything. It's about knowing what you need to be doing, how you need to be in alignment with yourself, and the things that you have to do, because you have a fingerprint that no one else has. And so for you, it's going to might be different from somebody else as to how much and how long that you need to practice meditating, right? So that you can be in alignment, so that you can heal yourself. And when you get to know yourself, guess what? You can care for yourself in a lot of ways. And I'm not saying that you're going to be able to cure everything, because but when you start with the crown, when you start with meditation, it's helping you to get in alignment with whatever else. If you have any physical ailments or any physical sickness or disease or what have you that you need to see a doctor for, then you're being aligned in this way, or you're knowing this and you're practicing your meditation. Guess what? You're going to be able to better or be more effective in your communication with your doctor. Okay, that's why it's important for you to do this. It's important for you to get in alignment with knowing thyself, because it's going to help you in every way that you could think of when it comes down to your healing. And so, having said that, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and as always, I appreciate and love each and every one of you. And please be on the lookout for the Step Out of Time meditation video, that and so that you can apply some of these 101 type of meditation information with it.